What's up, guys? It's Daniel with VintageMagic.com. Thanks again for watching one of my videos. So before we jump into the Q&A today, I wanted to announce a couple of things for the Patreon. I am working out some details with Patreon on how the reward setup will go. I originally was going to do a tiered system where, depending on what the Patreon rewards were every single month, I would essentially give half of those guaranteed as kind of a giveaway or raffle of prizes. The problem is on Patreon, you can't give away, you can't do raffles because it's considered gambling. So I'm trying to work out the details, how that would work. But on YouTube, you can do giveaways and stuff like that. But I think what I'll do is, I'm trying to figure out a way where maybe Patreon members get an exclusive type of raffle tier that they can choose from the normal giveaway or something. So I am thinking about that kind of stuff. Hopefully we'll have the Patreon all set up beginning of June, right in time for Grand Prix Las Vegas 2017, mid-June, on the 15th of June. So, all right, let's get right into it for the Q&A. I want to finish up these questions and also give you guys some thorough answers. Our first question is more of a comment. This guy talks about, aren't vintage packs searchable? Rudy said they were, but Vintage Magic, you mentioned that Vintage Magic is a good seller to do that. And I did mention this in my other videos about packs and such, and I want to be kind of clear on this. Older packs, when they have that white, like Fallen Empires and later, or earlier, they all have that kind of white area where you can push the cards up and shine them in the light and press against it and kind of see what the cards are. Now, there's definitely a way to do that, but I personally don't even know the correct way to do it. And I've never intentionally searched the pack. I probably have done it when the pack has already been searched or something, just to kind of test out how the process works. But I can tell you that there's nothing you can do as a buyer to guarantee it unless there's a couple things. One is you need to inspect the pack. You need to make sure that the pack doesn't have like riffles and wrinkling and stuff. That is, lots of little riffles. What's going on there is that the person may have searched and pressed against it quite a bit to view what the rare card is. The other thing to look for is just common sense, in the sense that if the pack on the back isn't kind of stuck on, meaning there's like an initial sticking period of the back portion of the pack, and then you can open the plastic and it just is already loose and the kind of glue is gone, that means that it may have been resealed in a way. So you might want to be careful about that. Now, something I want to clarify is that when you buy a pack from us, and I'm not saying, look, there might be other sellers that are reputable, but I'm saying for us, we only buy from Wizards of the Coast employees or game stores who have a reputation or a history of the packs. I do buy packs and boxes from individuals, but they have to have an extreme amount of history and track record for me to trust them. And in fact, if I buy something from someone, I usually just open some packs right in front of them to do verification that they are indeed real. And also I can tell that if they're not searched or not just by what I just talked about, the inspecting process. But again, I personally have not purposely searched a pack. I probably have looked at inspected packs that are already searched and just kind of examined the process and what happened, because you can kind of tell, like when they press the cards on the packs, it produces an indentation on the plastic. And I would do that to inspect to see if the pack has indeed been searched, if they match up the exact shape of the pressing. So that is a technique you can find out if someone's been searching. If the plastic really matches up really well, you can probably have a gut feeling yourself and guarantee that, hey, that pack has probably been searched, and do not buy it. All right, next question is, this is a good question. What storage methods are there for collection inside the residence, storage units, gun safes, etc.? How do you produce against fire? All right, so it's from Ken Irwin. Ken, this is a really good question. Okay, so first thing is if you put it in a fire safe, there's not enough circulation to air or gun safe because the problem is the humidity factor. If you live in an area with poor circulation of air and there's a lot of humidity, chances are really high that your cards are going to warp over time. I actually had this happen where I was in California and I left my some unlimited cards and they're graded also in a fire safe, and they were high humidity because it was in a garage, and also it was very hot, obviously. And so the cards, even in the graded case, even you think that it'd be airtight in a way, actually over time started to warp. And just imagine if they were loose cards, it would really, really wear on them. So I would not recommend putting them in that kind of setting. What we do is we actually go to the bank vault, we use Chase, and you can go to your local bank and whatnot and have a bank safe. And those vaults have 24-hour surveillance, security, and fire safety and all that. But they also have continuous air circulation, which is really critical for cards and collectibles. I would say also, like for art, for example, we store a lot of the art inside those bank safes, and you want a dark, obviously no humidity location. Fire, that's a good question. Personally, I think, the chance of a fire even happening are extremely, extremely low. So I wouldn't even really worry about that. But if you really are concerned about that, I would recommend I think there's specific vaults and type of fire safes where they have better circulation for humidity and airflow. Those would probably be your best pick. But to be honest with you, I would use the bank safe. That's my number one choice. Number two, another question. How does the this is a good question. How does the homeowner's insurance work for these items? Can you put a rider like your jewelry? There's the vary by company. What are some good companies to use? All right, so Ken also followed up with another question. This question actually comes up quite a bit. And the problem is there's two kinds of insurance. There's business and personal, but on top of that, you also have to schedule what they call insurance, specific large items. For example, if you have like your wife's wedding ring or you have a really nice watch and you try to insure it, they're actually going to charge you a separate fee just for that specific item. And especially like if you have like a Black Lotus or something, that item will be a much higher premium compared to the whole package. First off, you got to make sure that you're scheduling this, you're declaring this stuff as a personal item if it's only a personal. If it's business, you've got to declare it, because if it's at all a business item and they find out, they will not pay the claim. Also, specific insurance companies don't actually pay claims for collectibles at a certain amount. I know artwork, certain things are capped at a certain point, so you need to check with each provider. I don't have a specific insurance company I would just recommend. I would just quote various ones, but I do know that like Liberty Mutual, they're a big insurance provider for businesses. They're great for business and stuff, but for your home, each policy varies. So I can't answer that question because every region, every location, they look at the risk factor of where you live, all those things. So the most important thing, honestly, for insurance is making sure that you have some protection. A lot of Magic the Gathering investors and collectors don't have really any insurance. They're not really, they haven't really documented any of this. So in the case of total loss, which is all you really care about, you want to make sure you document what you have scans, digital scans, and a backup if there was a fire or some large theft. I also recommend high-end security system in your home, or cameras and etc. And also locked doors where they have codes and all that stuff. It's just all deterrent, because honestly, that 30 seconds or 45-second window where the theft could happen, you actually could prevent, you know, a thief is not going to come and take Magic the Gathering cards. They're generally just going to take electronics or other items that they know. All right, so that was kind of deep, but go from there. Next question is, it's a good question. Where do you think Magic is going for the next few years? Modern, legacy, standard, etc. Also reprint stuff. You know, look, the whole thing with reserve lists and the reprints, I talked about it before. Wizards is never going to reprint the cards. They might do buybacks and inserts of cards like they did with Shards of Alara and other sets, but they might do it on a grander scale and include like a Black Lotus or something like that, or redemption cards. I wouldn't rule that out. But in terms of like them actually reprinting like Magic cards for reserve lists, not going to happen. They've already stated that they wouldn't for this last set for Amonkhet or the Iconic Masters. They're not going to do it. They're not going to keep going back on. They're not going to go back on the word after saying it all over and over again all these years. As far as standard, modern, and the health of it all, I mean, I'll be really honest with you. I'm not engaged with that community as much, but I watch the news quite a bit. My feeling, though, is just from talking to store owners and other players, is that Magic's kind of hit a point where it's kind of flat. It's like a plateau, or may be declining at itself. I can tell you from a legacy and vintage standpoint, there definitely is a plateau or a slight decline because not only cost of the cards, but I also think that in order for the game to like flourish, Wizards themselves need to reinvest into Magic the Gathering, older formats, Eternal formats, other than like Eternal Weekend. And they need to also do other things that will spark more interest and keep the game flowing through all the formats. You know, for example, I think they just recently announced Magic Online. They're going to have like weekly, monthly tournaments and bigger prizes. So that's good. You know, that's a good start. But I think it's going to take a lot more than that. I think Wizards needs to understand that in order to keep Magic alive and growing, you have to pique the interest of players throughout their lives of their career and life. You can't just end it with standard and opening some packs of Amonkhet. You have to go further and continue that interest for Magic. All right, so again, this question is about Patreon for international. Yes, when I have my Patreon up, hopefully by next month, international patrons will enjoy the discounts or whatever products I offer. Just check that out. All right, so next question is, next question is how do I begin investing in Magic the Gathering and older stuff and collecting? Wow, this is going to take the entire video. Okay, so I'll kind of keep this one short, but I'll just give you a start. In order to start investing in Magic the Gathering and to invest, you have to have a personal cash, personal cash set aside that's for your own personal life. Meaning like your house, your car, bills paid off, your kids' schooling, etc., all those things. If you have all those things set away and you have luxury income or risk income, then you can look at Magic the Gathering as an investment. With any investment, like real estate even, or precious metals, whatever, there's always a risk factor. So you should do a lot of research on the markets itself, eBay auctions, sales of vendors are doing, and kind of take a look at what the market's trending. Another thing I want to share with you is that don't just buy because you have money laying around. I think a lot of people have a problem of impulse buying. They just feel like they should have their money working all the time rather than having it in cash. And I think that's a really bad move because if you have it in cash, you actually have more buying power when the time comes. Think about it this way. If you needed to sell, you have to sell. What's easier to do? Having the cash already there or liquidating what you have and taking a big hit in many cases and then going off and having to buy. So ask yourself, that's one thing that's really important to have. But I would say, look, if you have your personal stuff in line, do a lot of research. I would say that, you know, older vintage Magic cards and such, I think the Power 9 have a lot of room to run long term, like Alpha and Beta. I think dual lands have an opportunity to grow, but I think it's going to take a few more years to do that. I also think that Alpha and Beta commons and uncommons are very strong to invest in. Even rares are really great. And I say that because it hits the nostalgia factor. There's also a great interest for set collecting. And remember what I said in my other videos, is that if you produce a set that actually, a product that actually people collect and keep and not just rotate and shift and there's a lot of volatility, you're gonna find growth long term. That's the reason why you see really no growth in these newer sets, because all they do is reprint it. There's no, you've lost all the confidence of people collecting it. Everybody sells it, dumps it, and then you go on to the next new thing. All right, so next question, this is the last question for today because I want to keep it short, is how do I make sure what I'm buying is worth what it is? Wow, this is a really good question. And so this goes back to the other question about research. You have to be able to research and determine market values by yourself. Ultimately, if you ask on a Facebook group or you find some information on a forum, you can't just go off that. You have to look at previous eBay sales, completed, sold, the left-hand tab, sold sales, actual sales, and give an idea of what's going out there. And also, you should look at it at longer periods. You can't just go off and just buy it. So I hope that helps, guys. I hope this Q&A helps you guys kind of, you know, get you guys started, or, you know, some of you guys are more advanced, get some information out of it. But I hope you guys have a great week, and we'll talk to you guys soon. Thanks again. Bye-bye.